Welcome to Note-Taking 101. Before we can talk about what note-taking is, we have to start with what note-taking is not. And note-taking is not plagiarism. I hope I can assume that you all know what plagiarism is. And so then you also know that plagiarism is bad. But what you may not know is that there is an easy way to avoid plagiarism. The answer? Become a good note-taker. Note-taking is a skill, and a really important one actually. And it's been my experience that students pretty much suck at it. Why do students tend to be really bad note-takers? Good question. I think a couple of things are to blame. Reason number one. Laziness. Apparently, kids as a general rule don't seem to like research very much. And on top of that, they immediately start panicking, or worse, whining, when they're told they have to read something in order to take notes on it. Reason number two, computers. Specifically, how easy it is to cut and paste on a computer. Let's face it, even before computers, kids were plagiarizing. But now, computers have made it so ridiculously easy. Just a couple of clicks, and like magic, plagiarized words appear on your page. So I thought I'd help you out by trying to give you a few tips and guidelines to help you not plagiarize by using good note-taking techniques. I've told you before, I'm a huge nerd, and I'm good at this whole research thing. So take advantage. And also, whether you like it or not, your notes will be graded. So you might as well listen with at least one ear. Taking notes, summarizing, paraphrasing, they're all related. Basically, they all refer to the idea that in order to write intelligently about a topic, you've got to acquire new information, process new information, organize that new information, and restate it in a new, more concise way. There are dozens of note-taking techniques out there. Some have fancy names like the Cornell method, others are more visual. You essentially have to try a couple of techniques until you find the style that works for you. That's what I did. So I guess I'll pass along what can only be called the Trapani method of note-taking. It's basically a combination of different pieces of different note-taking techniques that I was exposed to over the years. Here's how you can remember it. Read, think, shrink, write. Step 1. Read. It seems pretty obvious to me, but I quickly learned that it's the step kids most often skip. But the reality is you have to read the passage first. It could be an article, a website, a paragraph, or a whole book. You may be able to skim and scan. Sometimes using indexes and tables of contents can help. Sometimes reading captions, sidebars, headings, maps, etc. can also provide new information. But whatever it is, you have to read it carefully so that you can make some decision about what you'll include in your own writing. Step 2. Think. Also a necessary step. Think about the words, concepts, and ideas you just read. Let them sink in a minute. Think about what you already know, and now think about how you can support these facts and or paraphrase these words and ideas into your own new and improved summarized version. Step 3. Shrink. Try to shrink down what you've read to a fraction of its original size. There are tons of ways to do this. You can use bullets, dashes, or arrows to visually separate facts and ideas. You can use caveman speak. In other words, write only the most important words, leaving out all unnecessary words like the, in, or is. You can use abbreviations, real ones or ones that you create, or you can use text boxes or bubbles. You'll probably end up using some combination of all of these. And finally, step 4, write. As you're writing, you should be thinking about the purpose of the assignment and recording only what's necessary, logical, accurate, and in support of your research question. And most importantly, whatever you write should be short, sweet, and in your own words. If you absolutely must use a direct quote, and sometimes it is necessary, make sure to put it in quotation marks and then follow it up with a few bulleted points to explain and/or support the quote. And the last thing you should get in the habit of writing is the source from which you obtained that specific information. My suggestion: write the title, author, publisher at the top of the page, and all of the bulleted notes or diagrams or facts from that source underneath it. When you move on to another book or website, move on to another piece of notepaper with the new resource title at the top and the bulleted information from it underneath. This will help you stay organized. Here are some examples of how notes can look and how note-taking pages can be arranged. This is a really simple version of that Cornell method I mentioned earlier. It basically just asks you to get organized by dividing your paper to help your notes make logical and visual sense. Here's an example of someone's actual class notes using this method. This is a general note-taking sheet I created a long time ago to help students. One thing I've added to this Trapani method is citing the source at the top of the page. For me, this helps me see where I originally found the information in an organized way. This one is basically a version of how my own research notes would be laid out. The key things for me in my note-taking style are: have a space for the bibliography information, a space for a really good quote, and obviously room to jot down bulleted facts or page numbers. Later on, I'll go back and actually put these notes in some kind of order or outline, like these 2 bullets definitely should be included in paragraph 2, or this quote should definitely wind up in my thesis paragraph. My own outlines never look quite as structured as this one, with Roman numerals, capital and lowercase letters, etc. But the idea is there. Grouping things together in a way that makes sense and in a way that supports my thesis is the next logical step in the writing process. But just how fancy you make your outline is up to you. Some people are more visual when it comes to note-taking. They like to use boxes, bubbles, arrows, and colors to represent essentially the same facts that other people prefer to put in a bulleted list. It could be a simple visual map like this one, or a slightly more detailed one like this, or a much more detailed one like this. Still others prefer a more freestyle way of visually taking notes like this. Some may take it to a whole new level like this. It's ultimately up to you to decide what works best in note-taking. Just remember, the point of all note-taking, whatever the style, is to get organized and restate new information for a purpose. So just remember the essentials. Read the passage, think about it, shrink it down, and then write it in your own words. If you do, not only will you have good notes, but you'll also be able to transform those notes really easily into a great research paper or essay. These 3 quotes were taken from a book called Rap and Hip Hop: The Voice of a Generation by Sherry Ayazi Hasheen. Hip-hop's roots can be traced back to Africa, but it is also an art form focused on the future. It teaches us to strive for newness, not only through the medium of sound, but through the way we learn, create, and live our lives. Although hip-hop has many inspirations, it was truly born when a few people used their skills and imaginations to create a brand new sound. Through the art of rapping, African American youth documented what was going on around them and what they thought about it. Rap also reminds listeners of the cultures, African and African American, from which it springs. To me, the best notes would look something like this. They include the source, the overall topic, and a very abbreviated summary of the quotes that can later be applied to an essay. Hopefully these note-taking tips will help you as you begin this very important research project. Good luck, and ask questions whenever you need to.